What's up, everybody? Today we are going to talk about the first ever recorded instance of the phrase common law, which originated primarily in England. Up until now, we are in the 13 states, which evolved into the 50 states, right? So, we're going to talk about the first ever recorded instance of the word common law and the history that surrounds that initial phrase. Okay. The purpose of this channel will be to be I hate the word logical now, but to be a logical defense against civil law and to promote the application, meaning us actually living out the common law of England. And so, yeah, that will be this channel. I'm almost finished with a book on the common law of England, and that will also be promoted on here. But this is a defense of the common law of England. That's as simple as it gets. And so we start here with a guy named Geoffrey. Geoffrey is of Monmouth. He wrote a book or a script or manuscript called The History of Britain's Kings. And it was published, or they may not have had publishing then, but it came out in 1138, the year 1138. All right. And he is telling, obviously, the history of Britain's kings, but we get here to a specific time in history, about 510 BC. And this is what he says about a guy named Dunvallo Molmutius. Say that 5 times fast. It says here, at last, in the after days arose a certain youth, renowned above all others for his singular prowess, by the name of Dunvallo Molmutius, the son of Cloten, king of Cornwall, excelling all the kings of Britain in comeliness and courage. And then it says, the king it was that did establish amongst the Britons the laws that were called the Molmutine laws, the which even unto this day, what day? 1138, are celebrated amongst the English. So the Molmutine laws were the laws ordained and established by Dunvallo Molmutius in about 510 BC. And he was young. He excelled all the other kings, and he had comeliness and courage. And his laws were celebrated even to the latest part of this recording in 1138. It says he ordained that the temples of the gods and the cities should enjoy such privilege that in case any runaway or guilty man should take refuge therein, he, the guilty man, should depart thence here forgiven of his adversary. It also says he ordained moreover that the ways which led to the foresaid temples and cities. What are the ways which lead to the aforesaid temples and cities? They are called roads. They are called highways. They are called streets. Somebody say the right to travel. Anyone? So it says he ordained, moreover, that the ways which led unto the foresaid temples and cities, no less than the plows of the husbandmen, should by the same law be held inviolable. That's your homework for today. Go look up the word inviolable. In his days, therefore, the knife of the cutthroat was blunted. See, the British, they are very proper, as we would say in the black community. So they don't tell you all the gory details that are shrouded in the words, the knife of the cutthroat was blunted. Just know they handled their business back in the day. And that if you were out putting your hands on people without their permission, or stealing, or damaging other people's property, Well, then they got to work. They handled their business. They were not with the BS, as we say. All right. So it says, in his days, the knife of the cutthroat was blunted. They said, don't even worry about it no more. We handled it. And the cruelties of the robber ceased in the land. So you don't know. Back in the day, if you were caught stealing, they cut your hand off. And if you continued to steal, well, then they just cut you off. And then that would be it. That's the common law of England. And so it says, in his days, therefore, the knife of the cutthroat was blunted and the cruelties of the robber ceased. That's all you need to know. Just know we put an end to it, boys. He won't be doing that no more. It was ceased in the land, and nowhere was any that durst do violence unto other. The end. That's all you need to know. We put an end to it. He won't be doing that no more because he won't be around no more to do it. All right. And then if you read the actual book, The History of Britain's Kings, it mentions that Dunvallo Molmutius had two sons. This son, called Belinus, is who carried the legacy. He had two sons. They both were kings, but the populace wanted him to be, I guess, in ultimate control of everything at the end of the day. And so that's what happened. So Belinus confirmed the laws which his father had ordained and commanded that even and steadfast justice should be done throughout the realm. Then it says here we go. He, Belinus, dedicated them with all honor and dignity and proclaimed it as of his common law that condemns or that condones punishment should be inflicted on any that do violence to another. That's the root of common law, that if you caused injury, then you are an actual criminal, and then criminals face severe punishment for their actions, right? So it says here that he dedicated them, what? The Molmutian laws with all honor and dignity and proclaimed it as of his common law that condoned punishment or that condemned punishment should be inflicted on any that do violence to the other. And then it says all of his ordinances, remember it says he ordained it, as concerning them, let him read the Molmutian laws that Gildas the historian did translate out of the British language into the Latin language. And then when King Alfred came on the scene, he translated it out of the Latin language into the English tongue. So you see a progression or the carrying of the common law from 510 BC. Remember, before Christ, they count downwards to the birth of Christ. So in 510 BC, Dunvallo Molmutius established the Molmutian laws that even today are celebrated amongst the English in 1138 AD, right? And then so 510 BC, then his son comes on the scene and carries the torch in 455 BC. So you see, and then at 455 BC, so what, I'm not good at math at all. So you're at what, 350 to 400 years before the birth of Christ, and they already have the common law established. And I didn't mention this, but it says Dunvallo Molmutius ordained that the city should enjoy such privileges that in case any runaway or guilty man shall take refuge therein, he should depart thence. Comes from Numbers chapter 35. So this is before Christ, but still with a biblical worldview. That in 510 BC, all the way down to 455 BC, 350 to 400 years, because I don't know math, before the birth of Christ, the common law is publicly established, and it condones, I don't know how to pronounce that word right, punishment to be afflicted on those who put their hands on other people. Remember, if you stole from somebody, they cut off your hand. If you put your hands on somebody, you start terrorizing the city, they'd hang you. publicly and end your life. That's the common law of England. And so, and then they took this common law of England. What's the root of the common law of England? That if they're an only crime is that which inflicts harm, right? So if you take something from me, then you've inflicted harm, right? If you put your hands on me, you've inflicted harm without my consent. And then if you damage my property, you've obviously caused harm to my property and the ability for me to use that freely as I desire, right? So the common law of England was taken from 510 BC to 455 BC. And then it says here, Gildon the historian translates it out of the British language, which is really early Germanic, into Latin. And then King Alfred comes on the scene in 871 AD, and he takes it out of Latin into the modern English language. So that's how the common law of England was established. It's the very first time it was in recorded history that Dunvallo Molmutius established the Multine laws. And the root of the Multine laws was that if you, a guilty man, had to depart from the town or he couldn't live there no more, and then his son took it and said that we will inflict punishment on those who do violence against others. All right. And that was it says the roads or the ways which led to the cities and temples were inviolable. So people have the right to travel freely in 510 BC up until 455 BC, up until the birth of Christ. And even after the birth of Christ, they took that common law understanding and they translated it out of the British language into an international language. And then King Alfred took it from an international language into another type of international language. So that is the common law of England. That's where it started. That's where it came from in recorded history, where the phrase common law comes from. It comes from Belinus, the son of Dunvallo Molmutius, who established the Multine laws. That's it.